This is the Sensu Chrome, a product I've been using recently to create digital art. Now what this is a stylus and brush that can be used on any touchscreen device, so a tablet or a mobile phone for instance, in order to help you create your digital art. Now most touchscreen devices rely on you using your hands to create marks. So if I used my finger in a painting app on a digital tablet, I can quickly build up a painting just with my hands. However, when you start to want to create more detailed work or you spend longer doing this, you soon find that the hand can sometimes be a bit of a problem because you can't always see exactly where the mark is when you're making it because it's obscured on the screen by the end of your finger. And this is when using a stylus comes in handy. So a stylus is essentially a pen with a rubberized grip that can be interpreted by your touchscreen device in order to make marks. And the beauty of using a stylus is that you can make smaller marks and you can work in more detail in exactly the same way that you would using a pen standardly. Now, the beauty of the Sensu Chrome is that it combines both a stylus for more detailed work or perhaps writing on your digital tablet and a brush. So the devices cleverly fit together, and on one end you have a brush and the other end you have your stylus. Now, by taking the body of the unit apart, I can fit the stylus end into the cap, creating a full-size paintbrush. Now, when I say paintbrush, this isn't a standard hog or synthetic paintbrush that you'd use for paints, watercolours, oils, etc. This is actually a fibre-tipped brush that can be read by a touchscreen device. So it transmits the signals from the brush to the screen and is read as a standard paintbrush would be. So what this enables me to do is make marks on your tablet in a much more intuitive way, as though you were using a standard paintbrush. Before digital art came along, we were used to using standard paintbrushes. So a lot of us are familiar with how a paintbrush moves and how it feels. So it's great to be able to transfer that feeling onto a digital device. So using the Sensu feels a lot more like using a standard paintbrush, and that gives you a much greater sense of control and feeling when you're creating a digital artwork. Because what's often missing when using a digital device is that sort of sensation that you get from using a standard paintbrush. So by using the Sensu, I can paint onto my screen just as though I was painting onto a canvas or piece of paper. And the resulting feeling is one that is much more natural to you if you are used to using paint and paintbrushes. So it's important to remember that this is not actually a real paintbrush, so don't be tempted to use it with water or paints. This is created purely for the use on a digital screen or on a touchscreen device. So these fibres are synthetic, and the screen will read these as being a real paintbrush. So just as with a real paintbrush, I can use the digital program that I am making my art with to change brush sizes and textures, and then of course I can use the brush to create a range of different marks. So you're not actually changing the brush itself in order to change your marks, you're using the brush settings in the program on the tablet in order to change textures and scales. So the brush is great for using to get a more natural feel to your digital artwork, but there are often times where you maybe want to add detail or do some writing perhaps. So this is where the stylus end comes in useful. So this rubber tip is quite small and neat, and it's a lot easier to get detail with this than it is by using your finger. So if I take a smaller brush size on my app, it's much easier to do fine lines using a stylus than it is by using your finger, where you can't really see exactly where the line is being made because your finger's blocking that mark. So using the stylus will certainly help if you prefer to do detailed work. So for creating digital art, the hand is absolutely fine, but when you get to a point where you want to work in more detail or have a more natural feel, it really does help to have something like a stylus to help you. Now, this is such a great product because you've got the option of using both the paintbrush and the stylus in one. and that means it's very portable, it's very light, you've always got it with you, and it makes creating digital artwork much more pleasurable than just relying on using your hands alone.